In the busy city of Seattle, USA, a young girl named Emil, who was just 5 years old, started her day in a different way. Instead of her usual morning routine, she didn't take a shower and quickly made her breakfast and lunch for school. When she left for the bus, still in her pajamas, the bus driver noticed something was wrong. Emil told him she couldn't wake her parents up, which worried the driver. At the same time, something sad happened somewhere else. The local police found out about a very sad event. A couple was found dead in their house because of taking too much of a dangerous substance. This news got to the Drug Enforcement Administration, where an agent realized something shocking. The address where this happened was his boss, Lucy's sister's home. Lucy rushed there and saw her sister and her husband, not alive, in their living room. Full of sadness and determination, Lucy promised to find the people responsible. In the same city, there was a man named Mike, known for being very kind, especially to kids. He owned a local pizza place, was loved in the neighborhood, and even helped support a kids' soccer team. But Mike had a secret. He was involved with a bad group, the drug cartel, and helped bring illegal drugs into the United States from Colombia. The story then moves to a restaurant kitchen in Canada, where Daniel, the leader of the cartel, was having a serious talk with Mike. The recent drug deliveries hadn't gone well, and Daniel wanted answers. He told Mike to go to Colombia to fix the problems. Away from the city, in the peaceful mountains of Colombia, a family was waiting for a bus to Chingaza National Park. They were going to see Santiago, the father, who worked in a hidden garden in the forest. This garden was special. It grew cocoa plants, which are used to make cocaine. Santiago welcomed his family with love and gifts, putting aside the truth of their work for a while. Together, they kept making the cocoa leaves into a valuable but very harmful product, not knowing about the big trouble coming their way in Seattle. In a complicated situation, Mike had to go south because Daniel, his boss, told him to check the quality of their product. Even though it was risky, Mike told his worried pregnant wife he would be safe, starting a dangerous trip. In another part of the city, John, a man who liked drugs, lived dangerously. He wasn't just any user. John had two roles in this secret world. He delivered things for Daniel and stole from the deliveries he was supposed to make. He was very greedy. He even made the pure drugs worse by adding bad chemicals to make more money. One night, his dangerous way of living caused a disaster at a party with two call girls, leading to a very sad event the next morning. The situation was very bad. John's friend, Alan, who tried John's dangerous mix, found out about the terrible events from the night before. One call girl was dead, and the other was very sick. They panicked, but John, who was good at tricking people, convinced Alan to help him get rid of the bodies, promising him money and a share in future drug deliveries. Alan, caught up in the moment and tempted by the promise of easy money, said yes, starting a plan that would really change their lives. Meanwhile, in the beautiful nature of Colombia, Santiago was busy getting ready to send out more drugs. His walk through the dangerous paths of Chingaza National Park was full of events, as he faced and stopped threats to his drugs with deadly force. Santiago's life was filled with constant watchfulness and harshness, very different from the chaos in the city. The story got really tense when Alan, affected by drugs and with a scary job to do, tried to leave the bodies at a hospital. He didn't know that police officers were watching from across the street, leading to a situation that couldn't be avoided. Here, two policemen noticed Alan acting strangely. When they went up to him, they found a gun and 3 kilograms of pure drugs in his car. This trouble got Alan taken to the police station. There, he met Lucy, a detective who asked him many questions about the drugs. Alan acted calm, said he had nothing to do with the drugs, and quickly asked for a lawyer. Knowing a lawyer could make things harder for her work, Lucy pretended Alan could leave. But this freedom didn't last. Alan was soon taken by someone and left in a dark room all tied up and alone, while Lucy acted like nothing was wrong and left. Far from the city's noise, Santiago came out of the Colombian forest and rode his motorbike to a small restaurant he knew well. This place was where people who moved drugs to Canada usually met. This time Mike, not the usual person, came to get the drugs himself. They didn't talk much. Mike then took the drugs to Cardiff, a coastal town in Colombia, and made sure they were pure in a warehouse. Happy with the check, he loaded the drugs onto a boat called Marlin, headed for Mexico. Mike told Daniel the drugs were on their way to Mexico as they planned. When the drugs got to Veracruz, a city by the sea in Mexico, their price went up to $88,000 for each kilogram. From there, the drugs were put on a truck, starting their trip to Monterrey. At first, everything went smoothly. The person driving the truck didn't have any problems until he ran into two policemen. Thinking quickly, he defended himself, and luckily, Mike was there to help. That night, they got to where they were going safely, and they hid the cocaine inside an air vent to keep it secret. The next day, a new person was supposed to take over. But now, the cocaine was worth $10,000 for each kilogram. This new person, wanting more money, decided to take a big risk by offering some of the cocaine to someone at a club. Sadly, he wasn't careful, and a club troublemaker stole a box of the cocaine. Mike noticed this mistake right away. Even with this problem, they kept going to their next stop, a place owned by someone Daniel trusted a lot, called the Collector. There, they found out a box was missing, and the person who lost it faced a very bad end during dinner as punishment. After this, another new person took over, planning to move the cocaine on a public bus. This bus had done things like this before, because the driver and some others were in on the secret. Even though a dog trained to find drugs and an inspection almost caught them, they got through because they had paid off an officer. When they got to the next place, the third person went to a hotel where Mike and another person, Adam, were waiting to check the cocaine again. Happy with the quality, they said it was okay to keep going, this time with a new person, Armen. Armen, who used to be a paratrooper, planned to deliver the cocaine from the air, including a bold drop into Death Valley National Park in California. After this delivery, the cocaine's price was expected to jump to $14,000 for each kilogram. Meanwhile, Lucy, the detective who had tried a tough approach with Alan before, came back, hoping to get him to talk. Facing the possibility of being hurt, Alan quickly asked for forgiveness, promising to tell everything he knew. In the quiet of the national park forest, Mike was waiting, hunting rabbits to pass the time until Armen, the person who parachutes, arrived. After catching a rabbit and starting to cook it, Mike got the call that Armen was on his way down. Armen landed safely, joined Mike, and after they checked the cocaine was good, they ate and rested for a bit. Mike then called John to tell him the shipment would get to where it needed to be in 2 days, and by that time, the cocaine's price would go up to $21,000 for each kilogram. John, knowing about the problems Alan was in, told him about the delivery coming soon and mentioned Alan should be involved like they had planned before. Alan had helped John before with a big problem involving 2 people who took too much drugs. With the package ready, Micah went towards Seattle to meet with John. At the same time, Lucy and Alan were following John to a hotel. Lucy, having a tracking device, told Alan to put it somewhere and then went to talk to John in his room to try and make a deal. When Mike got to John's place, he questioned who Alan was, and John said Alan was just a friend helping with the delivery. Even though Mike was a bit suspicious, he didn't say much about it. But then, as they were getting ready to move again, Mike found out the cocaine had been messed with, which made him very upset because there had been a lot of people taking too much drugs recently. He kept his cool, deciding to figure out what happened later. Their plan hit a problem when Mike saw a message on Alan's phone from an agent about the police planning to catch them. Quickly, Mike turned off the phone and changed their way to stay away from the police. When Alan couldn't find his phone, Mike took action, leading to something very bad happening to Alan. This left John shocked, but he didn't say anything and kept going with Mike. Soon, Mike called for help and got a new car because their old one could be tracked. With a different car, they kept going on their trip. Mike and John kept going on their important job, and someone came just in time to help with the sad task of moving Alan's body. Without talking much, Mike and John went on, focused on their goal. By the afternoon, they got to the house of someone they call the guard. There, Mike talked about the troubles they had, blaming John for causing trouble by messing with the cocaine. The guard, deciding to take action, gave Mike a gun, hinting that Mike should solve the John problem for good. After staying the night, they left early for Cascade National Park, changing from a jeep to a motorbike, and then walking deep into the forest. While taking a break, John started talking about Alan, leading Mike to share that he found a message from a DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration agent on Alan's phone about a police raid coming soon. Mike then asked John about the bad cocaine. At first, John said he didn't do anything wrong, but when it was clear he couldn't deny it, he admitted to taking some cocaine to sell himself and adding bad stuff to it to make more money. He even talked about almost getting caught by a DEA agent, but managed to convince the agent he was innocent. John, knowing he was in deep trouble, said maybe they should just leave him in the forest, but Mike wanted him to face Daniel and explain his actions. Their trip kept going, full of worry and doubt. A mistake near the river caused the bag with their very important drugs to get carried away by the water. While looking for it in panic, Mike almost had a very bad fall, and John decided to save himself rather than help Mike. Later, John found the bag by the river, a small win after his big betrayal. After making sure the cocaine was okay, John put it in his bag and walked until he found Adam waiting with a car. John told Adam that Mike had a bad fall off a cliff, but he saved all the cocaine. They drove to see Daniel, who was happy to see the cocaine was all there. Daniel then called someone, praising John's work and said he would give John extra money. He told John to meet at their regular club the next night to talk more. Lucy, on the other hand, was very upset. Her plan to catch them didn't work, and finding Alan's body made things worse. She wanted to get John for 2 murders, including the call girls and Alan. She planned to look for John in Canada, while her team would search in Mexico. The next night, John and Daniel met. John talked about what happened to Mike. Daniel was impressed with John's work alone and made him the new leader for moving the cocaine. Daniel's first job for John was to check a warehouse in Cartagena, Colombia. The next day, John and Adam went to the airport. Lucy saw John there as she was sending her team to Mexico. She tried to stop John but couldn't get to him before he got on a plane owned by Daniel, a big businessman in Canada. Lucy then tried to talk to Daniel in his office, but he told her she couldn't do anything because powerful people were protecting him. Soon after, John and Adam got to Colombia and went to the warehouse where Mike had checked the cocaine before. But this time, the warehouse was empty, and Adam suddenly attacked John and locked him in a bathroom. Adam didn't know one of Lucy's people had followed him from the airport and knew where the warehouse was, ready to make a move. This story shows the dangerous chase between the police and those involved in moving drugs. At the warehouse, Adam found John very weak and almost passing out. He planned to end John's life in the warehouse's backyard, but things changed when Mike showed up, surprising John by taking off the cover from his head. Things got worse until Mike, wanting to stop John from making any more noise, shot him. This let Lucy's hidden officer, who was watching, see who Mike really was. With this big clue, he followed Mike all the way back to Seattle, which was a big step forward in their case. Mike, not knowing he was being watched, went back to running his restaurant. That's when Lucy decided to confront him there. Surprised but calm, Mike listened as Lucy talked about all she had done to try to stop drug moving. Lucy shared how sad she felt, wondering if her hard work even made a difference in stopping drugs. During their talk, Lucy showed a gun, putting it on the table, making a strong point without words. Mike, stuck between being defensive and curious, asked what she planned to do with it. Lucy's choice showed a hard truth. Even if one bad guy is caught, there are many more, and the drug business keeps going. Their meeting showed how hard it is to fight drug moving, with wins often feeling small in the big fight that keeps on going. Even with some people caught, the drug moving didn't stop, with more drugs still being sent out. This story shows how the drug business works, from making to moving drugs, and the personal reasons people have for being in this dangerous job. Through this story, the goal is to entertain and also show how complex and tough it is to fight against drug moving. Thanks for following this story, and hope you'll join for more stories like this in the future.